I call to order the February 13th, 2017. We have an echo in our sound system here, if anybody cares. Work session of Swarthmore Borough Council. All council members are present except Mr. Murphy, who had an issue that required his attendance elsewhere. And the mayor is here. At this point, we welcome public comment on any subject relevant to the borough. Seeing no stampede to the rostrum, we'll close public comment. As president, I will take these one at a time. I first ask for approval of the minutes of council's meeting of January 9, 2017. Is there a motion those minutes be approved?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
are these the revised?
That's why I took it one at a time.
Yeah.
Only the first set of minutes of January 9, 2017. All those in favor of approval of those minutes as originally distributed, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Those minutes are approved as distributed. Next, we have the minutes of originally proposed minutes of the meeting of February 6, 2017. Once distributed, Mr. Schmucky, you suggested some provisions to those, and then another version of those minutes was distributed, which included Mr. Schmucky's suggested revisions. And then it was called to the attention of members of council and the secretary that there was indeed another required change to those relating to Mr. Jones, the outgoing president of the fire company, and the discussion there. So subject to all of that, is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 6, 2017 as originally distributed, as thereafter repeatedly revised? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion about those minutes? All those in favor of approval of those minutes as I've described it, say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Any opposed? They're approved. The next item on the agenda is, I asked that be put on the agenda the fact that the borough, I had the privilege of signing a letter to the Assistance to Firefighters Grants branch of FEMA, seeking financial support for the fire company as described in that letter. This is a grant which has been received several times by the fire company in the past. I think not most recently, but we're hopeful that the grant will be forthcoming that will further support the efforts of the fire company. I received, as did the borough manager, a letter from the Auditor General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania reporting on an audit that it had conducted expenditures by the borough of liquid fuel funds provided to the borough from the state. And I would ask Jane, the borough manager, to describe, to the benefit of those who don't really understand, which I don't, the whole liquid fuels, what the source of funds is, and the purposes for which those funds could be spent by the borough, and which expenditure is then memorialized in a form, MS-965, which is provided by the borough to the state. So all of which then gets audited by the Auditor General's office. So if you could briefly describe that so everybody understands what this is about, that'd be appreciated.
The borough receives a share of the state gas tax. The share is based on the amount of road miles that we have and the amount of population. The number has actually gone up fairly significantly. People probably remember the legislature passed an increase in the gas tax. It's been phased in over 5 years, which is why gas is currently more expensive here than it is in New Jersey or Delaware. For getting that money, the borough is audited actually both by the Auditor General's office and PennDOT, who administers the funds, to make sure that we're spending it in the allowed way. So you can't spend it on general salaries, you can't spend it on building maintenance, You can spend it on road maintenance, snow removal, storm sewers, because if you get the water off the roads, you're protecting your roads, and traffic lights, street lights, and street repaving. Those are the big uses for the money, and it is a segregated account. We don't co-mix that with our other money.
And the report, which is provided by the Auditors General as of February 2017, found that the expenditures of the borough, as reported in that form, were not accepted to by the Auditor General. And in the past, we have been seen to have strayed modestly, but in this case, we get a clean sheet.
For those who have ever seen the movie Animal House, there are times when we felt that we were on double secret probation and didn't quite know the rules. Even one year we got dinged for putting down a single yellow line instead of a double yellow line, when we had been putting down single yellow lines for years. So sometimes a little bit of a mystery what you might get called on, and this year we were lucky.
Yes.
The teacher was happy with all of them.
Thank you, Jay, appreciate it. Environment Committee.
No report.
Okay, thank you. I've forgotten whether you're meeting this month or not.
No.
No meeting this month. Finance Committee.
Yes, several things on the agenda. The usual one is financial report for the month of January. It's fairly scant, just given it's the first month of the year, and obviously we haven't started collecting property taxes. It looks like the expenditures have gone way down, but that's typical in the beginning of the year, just timing issues. Payments for employees were one less week this year versus last, and also an insurance payment was made earlier last year, so that's really just a timing issue in terms of the expenditures being about half of what they were last year, but again, it's the first month. And then finally, at the end of January, the fund balance was $360,915. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to wire transactions for January 2017. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look at them. They totaled $41,636.95, and that $39,000 is the amount is paying down that particular loan. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that we've talked about in the past. That's the bulk of it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve those wire transfers for January 2017, totaling $41,636.95.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving those wire transfers in that amount, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Those transactions are confirmed.
Okay, and then moving on to bills to pay. Bills for the month of January total $387,609.86. I'd like to make a motion to approve those bills for the month.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mary. All those in favor?
Let's make a comment.
Sure.
The chief had a bill that he would like to add to that. It's an amount to AT&T. Was there an underpayment or something from the month before?
We just started the service on the computers, and because they're catching up to us, I submitted an original 2-month bill, and this is the 3rd month. It's an additional
$126.16. Sorry, Mark, you just got that at
Okay.
5 o'clock today.
Okay, so the motion as made and seconded could be taken to include that amount as well?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, any discussion about that or any other item on the bill list? All those in favor of approving payment of matters on the bill list and this additional amount, say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Anybody opposed? Payment is approved.
Okay. Moving on, the pension committee did meet on February 7th, and I'm just going to give a brief summary of that meeting. And then there's a follow-up in terms of our investment policy statement that you've all received. We went over investment performance at the meeting. INR, which is our new pension fund manager, took over on September 9th, 2016. So the returns for that abbreviated period to the end of the year were just over 1%, which is very similar to the indices because they use index funds, as you'd expect. And Mr. Glacken, who ran the meeting for INR, said clients that were with them for the entire year and had the same equity bond mixture that we had returns closer to 8%, which again, similar to the benchmark indices. Mr. Glacken also discussed various scenarios for asset allocation. The committee, meaning us, agreed to a 65-35 mix for both funds. That's 65% equities and 35% bonds. The expected rate of return for this mix, according to INR, based on both past experience in those asset classes as well as a little bit of valuation work, is 6.44%. This is actually below the actuarial assumed rate of return, which is 7.75% for the police pension fund and 7.5% for the non-uniform pension plan. The committee, however, did not recommend reducing that rate of return, which would increase the annual minimum municipal obligation, but acknowledged that voluntary additional contributions to the plans should be considered going forward. And I'd just like to take a minute to explain that, because the reason that we might not want to lower the return would require us, return assumption would require us to put in more money. And the fact of the matter is that the markets in general are very expensive. That's the reason why the returns are low. So we would be putting in money theoretically when the market is most expensive. So given our overall funding rates have improved, the thought was potentially in the future, if the market is weaker and the expected return, even though it's counterintuitive to the way this works, we may want to voluntarily increase payments if the strength, the financial strength of the borough remains as it is now, which is strong. So those are the things that were discussed. And then finally, as hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at, we have a new investment policy statement which has that 65-35% asset allocation mix, and it lays out specifically the pluses and minuses that the committee can take that in terms of each particular area going forward. So I'd like to make a motion to approve those investment policy statements for both pension plans.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion, any questions?
Are these, as I had raised a question about whether we should define in the statements what let me actually get right to it.
Right.
To say the plan sponsor shall be the Borough Council of the Borough of Swarthmore, because it wasn't defined in the draft.
Yes, which I think we verified was in our code. So
Okay.
I think we're putting that in.
So that's in the version
It
that
is in the
that
version.
gave
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question? All those in favor of approving these investment policy statements as circulated, say aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The statements as circulated are approved.
And we will not be meeting this month, the finance committee.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's all.
Thanks. General government?
General government will be meeting on Monday, the 27th at 7:30 p.m. To discuss aging in place, Swarthmore Town Center, and the kiosk. That's all I have to report.
Could you shed a little more light on the location, the kiosk and its movement and such? That was brought this, I take it this is as related to the comment made in the public session last week?
Yes. I can do it, or you know. Okay.
Go for it.
So what I understand is that the Rotary commissioned the building of the kiosk, and it was assembled, it was made by...
Is this the kiosk in Centennial Park?
In the, yes.
What's called Centennial Park?
Yes.
Okay.
And my understanding is that it was moved in part as a result of the work being done on Central Park. And,
I can talk about that. Go ahead.
okay, and
Between the two of you, we're going to get the whole
it's been
story.
moved to a place where, even though it's a round kiosk, only one side of it is accessible. And
No.
Mr. Small came in and asked that it be
Mhm.
returned. And so that was one issue we were going to discuss. Anybody wants to add any facts to that? Go ahead.
Tim?
I think as long as I've been sort of involved in things around town, that kiosk has been under discussion in terms of where it was located and everything else. In terms of the way Centennial Park was laid out with the circles, having the kiosk in the middle prevented it from actually being the kind of space that it was intended to be, where people sit on the edges and talk across and you could see things going on and everything else. So when we were designing Central Park, one of the things we wanted to add in that was a community bulletin board, which is a sign which will be coming next year as the, we haven't finalized it essentially, but will be located in the middle, kind of where the handicap parking space is on the far side of the parking lot, the one near where the green space. So it'll be kind of right by the bench, where the benches are. And it'll be a flat sign, which on the side facing out towards Park Avenue will say Swarthmore Central Park, or Central Park,
Right.
something like that. And the back side will be a shadow box that'll be lit in the, lit in the evening.
And that will be facing the parking area.
Facing the sidewalk next to the handicap area, where that kind of. So the kiosk where it stands now, when we were trying to figure out where to, we didn't want to get rid of it because it was made by someone in town, it was donated by Rotary, it has lots of history to it and everything else. And it's a handsome thing in and of itself. The hardware is a little messed up and things like that. So we put it in a place where we would lose one side of it, but only one side of it is inaccessible, and the other 5 sides you can, I think it's 6-sided, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
The other 5 sides, you can actually see the information that's in it. We put it in a place where it was against the wall, but out of the path of pedestrians. So there's an entrance into the building that's right next to it that pops out, where there's a door that goes in, you can go down, I think, or I think it's where Ed Jones used to have his office, maybe, right there on Dartmouth. So that actually pushes the usable sidewalk further out. So this was an area against the kind of brick wall where it sort of made sense to put it where it was still very visible, so people could still see it. And I think the thought at the time was that losing one section out of it wasn't that big a deal, but it was still in a place where it was prominent, people could see it, people could see the information involved. But it wouldn't be right in the middle of the park where it was before.
Okay, thank you. And this is something that the general government committee is going to come to grips with, is it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Planning and zoning.
We are going to meet next week, Thursday the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. here, and we're going to be talking about the recommendations in the Aging in Place report to the extent they have something to do with zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to that. Public safety.
Right, so for this evening's legislative session, we've got the proposed memorandum of understanding between the Borough of Swarthmore and Brandywine Vet Hospital. Jane circulated a revised and corrected version of that. I move that council approve this MOU.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Michael seconds. Any discussion this evening on this subject? All those in favor of approving that memorandum of understanding as it is before us, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? It's approved.
Lastly, the Public Safety Committee will meet this month, Tuesday, February 21st at 7:30 p.m. That's all.
As you sit here tonight,
Yes.
are there particular things you think will be discussed at that meeting?
Yes. Traffic calming in one of probably several different iterations will be on the agenda. And I would say traffic calming and related issues, most of them focused, for now anyway, on Yale Avenue, one part of Yale or another or both. And then I think we also are going to take up the issue of, as I mentioned in last week's working session, what, if anything, should be done to assist residents of the borough in finding parking spots on their streets, which have been taken by commuters at least some of the time. So I think that will also be on the agenda.
Okay. Do you have a sense from what you've heard about what some of those streets are, or what some areas of particular concern?
Well,
I know myself, whereas I come up Park Avenue all the time, and it seems that the park's solid between the church
yeah.
and Princeton, and then now beyond. But there are other streets that, and in the Headstrong issue, we heard that Harvard Avenue, at that point between Yale Avenue and Chester Road, has similar parking Are there other areas that have been brought to your attention?
Well, Dartmouth Avenue, for example, which is a similar kind of situation. Strangely enough, I mean, I personally have not heard of anyone on Park Avenue complaining yet. Have you, Jane? No. And it is moving, I don't know whether it's down or up Park Avenue. It's now on the 200 block. But we have had some concern expressed about Dartmouth.
Okay.
And Rutgers.
And Rutgers, yeah, well, right, and Rutgers is a similar situation where the commuters are beginning to, what's the right word, move down or up the street.
Encroach.
Encroach. Yeah, something like that.
David, isn't there also the element of construction workers?
Yeah.
Particularly like up at Elm, up at,
Right.
you know, by the Whittier Place entry to the college. And,
Yeah,
to some extent on Harvard
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And that's going to go on even more so up
Well,
that
my
way.
understanding is that the college wants to have a meeting and talk about where, when the biology building starts, where
Yeah.
those hundreds of people are going to be parking. Because it's not going to be on Elm Avenue, and it's not going to be in the
Right,
visitors parking for the
Right.
college.
right.
Okay, yeah, that's, it's a challenging issue. And on a building of that scope.
Yeah, yeah. I think parking is something that is probably never going to go away. Future councils yet unborn will probably be dealing with parking.
Okay. Jane, with respect to the intersection improvements expected for Yale and Rutgers, Harvard and Chester Road, and Harvard and Yale, do we know when that's
We
going to
do,
happen?
actually, David was going to announce that tonight, and so I actually don't have the dates. The final approval was given by PennDOT, and the project is going to be let, which means it's going to be bid to the PennDOT
Right.
process in March.
Okay.
And the notice to proceed is generally 120 days after that, which I think put it in June, something like
Okay.
that. So we
So-
actually have some firm dates for that for this year.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you.
I'll put that under the Public Works report.
Thank you, David. And so Mr. Murphy is not here to extol the virtues of the Pendeck 3400 snow removal tractor this evening, but talk to us about that, Jane. But we need to act on this tonight to take advantage of something.
Right, it will save us $500 because in your bill list, there's actually a payment to Lawn and Golf of $2,000, and that entire amount would then be paid to the $23,000 that's outstanding on the invoice. I think, as everyone knows, we really haven't gotten a lot of snow. I think this was discussed in the Public Works meeting that I missed. Who was at that meeting? So I guess because he made a pretty convincing case that even the limited amount that they've used it, they're very happy with it. They have not yet ordered one additional piece of equipment, which is a snow blower, which it's some attachment that would cost more money. I guess if they decide they want to try that out, they will purchase that at a later date, even next year. He thought it might make the machine too big. But even as it was, apparently it was magical clearing sidewalks and fast. So actually there are some cost savings here because we end up spending a fair amount of money and time trying to find people to clear the sidewalks in a timely manner, so we don't violate our own ordinance. So that's as much as I know. If you want to add anything else about what Cuzzy said at the meeting about the machine.
Nothing more than that, except that rave reviews. It was a great machine, and that the committee wanted to bring it up tonight because otherwise we might miss the opportunity to get the credit for the lease purchase back. So we wanted to, you could even do it as a conditional approval, I guess, like, I don't know.
Well, I think normally what we have in the minutes is approval. This one, it's as if it's gone out to bid and you're approving the low bidder. It happens on this one, it's a state contract.
Yes.
So you're approving as it was written in that invoice under the state contract.
And we were provided with a revised invoice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that went up today. So the revised invoice was for $23,350.94.
Okay, is there a motion that we pay a set amount for the acquisition of Ventec 3400 snow removal tractor and associated equipment and warranties. Is there a second?
Yeah, I mean, pursuant to the
I just was asking whether he wanted you to vote on the full amount or the amount after the.
I just think as long as you do it in accordance with the requirements of the state contract, that covers it. So,
Just asking the boss.
Liz?
Okay. So are we
Were you
okay with this
multitasking? Did you
motion?
hear the motion? Do we need to do anything
Why
with it?
don't you amend the motion to authorize purchasing it pursuant to the terms of the state?
Okay, is it understood that the motion that has been made and seconded is said motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposition? We now are the proud owner of a Ventec 3400 snow removal tractor and associated.
Can we get t-shirts?
Maybe right, it has a heat, you'll notice if you read that, it has like a heated.
Yeah, Jane,
Oh, yeah. It has
Jane,
a-
I noticed there are all kinds of attachments that can be bought. I mean, it's unbelievable. This thing does everything.
I know.
And that, this is not
Almost like a
just,
vacuum
it's not
Slicer,
just a snow
dicer.
removal.
No.
So,
Now, don't apply a new borough manager if you will.
right, I mean, it's, I think so, it makes, but
Maybe we have Cuzzy drive in the 4th of July.
do we just have like a
Yeah, that would be
utility
great.
plow
Okay.
for it?
Yeah.
No, we got, well, it depends what you cat, are you looking?
Oh, there's a whole
Yeah, we did not get all that,
I
like
mean,
there's
there's mowers,
there's
there are
right, we're not using it as a
mulchers, there are
mower, we're not
aerators, You
mulching.
know, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no, we're not buying, only
Okay.
the ones that were specifically listed
To make
on
smoothies?
the
I
It's
think
not,
so. I think so.
in the midst of all of this, I'm not sure we voted, if we voted.
We actually did.
You did.
Okay, thank you very much. I was going to note that this all began because there was no effective way with snow blowers to remove, should it ever snow again, snow from the Princeton Avenue underpass because of the switchback.
Yeah.
Okay. Jane, are you aware of any other public works, or any committee member of that committee, any other public works matters that should be discussed tonight?
I don't have my notes, but my recollection is that the meeting we talked about the doggy bags?
Right, but that's in last week, that's
Yeah,
in
that
the
was
minutes, that was
all-
already
talked about
discussed,
last
yeah.
That's right. And since that and something else, the Porta Johns, I think, is Little Crimpy Farms, right? Okay. It's funny
You're
when
gonna say it
think
was a
about
crappy
those
report,
together.
a crappy report.
I've made that association before. Any other business to be discussed tonight? Mayor?
Just a reminder that the petition signing time is starting, I believe, tomorrow, so people want to be informed about it before they sign anything, please look on the Swarthmore 21 website at the frequently asked questions, or find somebody. I think there'll be a series of events that'll be held at HOM, at the warehouse, and at Hobbs, where people will be available for questions and answers, including Lowick ukuleles at Hobbs on March 2nd.
They're pulling out all the stops.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to make a public comment? I don't know it's been publicly commented on before about the recognition that our esteemed chief of police is receiving.
Well, I can't. I was going to wait for the next one.
We're doing both meetings.
We do it both meetings. Our esteemed Chief Brian Craig is about to assume the position of president of the Police Chiefs of
Southeastern Pennsylvania Police Chiefs Association.
Okay. We're very proud of him. I think in an organization like this, it's a great honor for him to assume that office, and we think it speaks well for the department, and certainly well for the borough, certainly for Chief Craig.
Yeah, we're very pleased. Borough manager?
Just a couple things. Under the recycling report, there has been a subcommittee from the EAC working on recycling. And I'm urging them to use our website. They've found some great resources and have some ideas for updating the website to make it more user-friendly. I do look at the recycling going down, and I think it will be great if we can get more information out there. So I am working with them. I'm hoping that we'll start to get information from them, update the website. Maybe if there are things that people aren't recycling, that they can recycle, we'll give them information. I'd like to see the numbers a little stronger than you see in this one's report. There's a subdivision and land development. The Planning Commission is meeting on Wednesday on the final land development for the big building that you were just talking about, the parking. I would expect that will be on the council agenda next month. I doubt, do you doubt that the Planning Commission will keep it more than a month?
I think there were very few issues that still
Yeah.
had to be resolved,
Right.
so I agree.
Okay. And then just on meetings, I did want to point out on that meeting with Aqua, I think sometimes government gets a bad rap, and this is a good example where Aqua called and set up a meeting. There's actually a new project manager, and we compare streets that we think we're going to need to pave with streets where they think they need new water mains. So David's familiar with this, that sometimes we'll delay paving a street when they're going to put in a water main, and then you're not paying twice for repaving the street. So it's just an example where sometimes behind the scenes, things are going on that people might not be aware. And actually, I thank Aqua for being very aggressive in setting up those meetings with us. That's all I have.
Okay, anything else?
I probably will be giving a more detailed MS4 update in the next couple of months. That's actually a big deal. This is stormwater management programs are becoming, we're coming under more regulations from the federal government to the state government, implementing things that are called TMDLs, total maximum daily loads. They're going to start looking to make sure that we're really removing the bad things that are in our creeks, which for us is mostly sediment. So I'll have an update for that in the next couple of months.
Has anything been heard recently about any requirement that municipalities require property owners to have their laterals inspected? Now, this is not stormwater management, this is sanitary sewer management. Have their laterals inspected at the time the houses are sold?
There
Which
has
was a
been
hot
no,
issue a
there
couple
has
years
been no
ago.
change. I can tell you that there has been movement. I know that Cheltenham Township is now doing a survey of all laterals, and homeowners will be required to repair them if they don't pass. I don't know what their standards will be. I myself am selling a home in Oakland, California, and that will require repair of that lateral before either by the seller or the buyer. It can be either, but the state gives 90 days after the sale of a house if it hasn't been done prior to a sale. So I think it's still a very active issue out there. I don't think it's one that we can ignore. It probably. We need
But
to think about it.
we're under no present pressure to do it?
I think it's the same pressure we had before.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
Thanks, I don't have anything tonight.
In Mr. Murphy's absence, Ross? No, you're supposed to move
Yes,
to
to
adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, thanks.
And he always says we don't need to move.
We're adjourned. We're adjourned.
You don't need a second.